Tonight I thought we would read from Jean Klein in his book, I Am. So Jean says, liberation does not concern the person, for liberation is freedom from the person. Basically, the disciple and teacher are identical. Both are the timeless access of all action and perception. The only difference is that one knows himself for what he is, while the other does not. The questioner. But personality plays a very important part in everyday life. Everything depends on it, doesn't it? Jean. The personality is nothing other than a projection, a habit created by memory and nourished by desire. Ask yourself the question, who am I? And lucidly observe that the questioner, the thinker, the doer, the sufferer are all forms that appear and disappear within the consciousness of I Am, the ever-living background. They have no reality in themselves. What we call the person is due to a mistake. Thoughts, feelings, and actions appear and disappear indefinitely, creating an illusion of continuity. The idea of being a person, an ego, a me, is nothing other than an image held together by memory. Creativity is an expression of the ultimate. But when there is a forgetting of oneself as the ultimate, there is insecurity and identification with the created. The world of so-called objects is, like the ego, only a projection. Thinking that you are this or that is only part of your imagination, an hallucination. The teacher helps you to understand by his unconditional presence and his gift of teaching that you are neither object nor ego. What you are fundamentally cannot be objectified. It does not refer to time and space.
Wow. So this image came to my mind of like 6 blenders, all with like water, and 6 blenders going, right? And so you take a little, I don't know, orange zest and you put it in this blender and you get orange juice, you get lemonade. You put blueberries in this blender and you get blueberries, right? And so we're all like a container, we're all like the fluid in the blender. And so if I could take away your present memories and then funnel in a whole different flavor into your blender, right, you'd be a different person. Or, you know, take out that and put a bunch of images and memories and you'd become that person. It's like yeah, it's like the movie theater becoming the personality of the movie playing, or the story playing.
Yes, but you see, what he's saying here is that the person that you think you are, this ego, this me, it doesn't even exist. Yeah. It's an illusion.
Yes.
Because why is it an illusion? Because it's all based on memory.
So is it like software in a computer, which is an otherwise empty
Yes,
thingy.
that's right. That's right.
Our standard operating procedure is identification with the content of consciousness.
That's right. And that's what we take to be real.
And by the way, you could say, this is interesting, because we called it, in one of the books we wrote, we referred to that standard operating procedure as a survival mentality.
Right.
So it's like
'Cause-
conditioning. from
Right,
childhood
because
to
the conditioning is all built around one major thread. Or if I was more tech savvy, I would use the more appropriate lingo,
That's right, you could say.
one central link. The preoccupation with me, my, and mine. Self-interest, self-expansion. What's the third thing?
Self-interest, self-expansion, and self-protection.
And self-protection, right. I'm always looking to protect myself, watch out for my fears, expand myself, fulfill my desires. That's the current operating procedure globally, you could say. At this present time on the planet, humans are functioning at a, globally speaking, at a survival level of consciousness. We have great technology. The technology is self-transcendent in a way. But the self-interest is still so rooted on me, mine, power, greed.
Isn't it somewhat ironic though, because we're at the point where the need for self-preservation is probably the lowest that it's ever been from a physical context. You know what I'm saying? We have all the resources available to us to feed everybody, to create
Yes.
a healthy planet,
Right.
to not have to engage in war. We have all that available
The
to
tools.
us. We have all the tools of it, probably greater than any other
And
time
the
in history.
resources.
Right. We're on the edge,
And
right?
yet here we are thinking that we could be
Yeah.
Yes.
able to just end everything like that
Yeah.
because of our ego.
Yeah.
You know, it's very ironic.
So that's the optimistic side of it, is that technology, we have all the wonderful tools that could truly eliminate basic suffering,
yeah,
those kinds of
suffering,
needs,
yeah.
the need suffering. If we could just shift our heads to a different place.
Well, to a different identity. As long as we are globally, each of us, identified only with this body-mind, this ego-me, well, there's going to be selfishness and self-protection and a feeling of lack. And so there won't be this giving and sharing openly and easily. So this other person says, well, how can I free myself from mental confusion? Jean, simply be aware of it. Observe how you function without the slightest idea of changing anything. Vigilance purifies the mind, and sooner or later will place you knowingly beyond it. And I think this is really important, because of all the practices, simply being aware of how this mind works, keeping awareness of the thoughts, the feelings, the motives, just having an awareness of the pettiness, the greed, just having an awareness of that which we say, oh, how could I possibly have done that or said that? The self-criticism, the putting oneself down, the beating oneself up, just having an awareness, the need to control, the need to grasp, just having an awareness in the moment of when that arises, frees you from it. If it's continual, it can't just be one time. That's the ultimate meditation and the ultimate practice. Because the me is not going to easily go. It's a very strong force because it's a very strong belief. It's a very strong conditioning. Not easily gotten rid of. But it's an image. And that's the trick. Is there a me independent of thoughts? Independent of this feeling which is part of thoughts? Is there a me independent of memory? In this moment right now, when thoughts are not moving, is there a me? No. There's just being, just seeing, just hearing. You encounter ups and downs in your search for the self, the self with a capital S, your ultimate being. Because you do not see things in their true perspective as a whole. This instability will continue just as long as you consider yourself as the body and the mind. The mind will lead you astray until you perceive its true nature. This insight is the result of listening, free from the past. Live with the sayings of the teacher and the reminders of truth those awaken. These unspoken reminders are the perfume of that to which they refer. Attune yourself to this stillness and not with what you are not. So he's saying, let the words of the teacher point you to the background. Don't just stay in the foreground of your mind. Allow yourself to go beyond the mind by not giving it that much attention. As the thoughts arise, as the fears arise, as the feelings arise, as the projections arise, if we don't give it that much attention, if we let them come and then let them go, they go. Where do they come from? Who knows? But who cares? If we don't identify with each thought, with each feeling, if we don't grab on and dwell and create a larger story, let them come. Let come what comes and let go what goes. But it's got to be moment by moment. Otherwise, we're stuck.
So it's this laser of awareness that can cut through the layers of my identity and my habitual reactions, whether to myself or other people. And you're saying that that's the tool we all have available to us, this laser of awareness. So when my self-doubt rises or my fears rise, if I see them and don't immediately get swept up with them, swept away by them, I can use this laser to minimize them, to shrink them, and to free me to be more unidentified in the moment.
Right. The laser of awareness is what you fundamentally are. It's what we all are, is it not?
Yeah.
We don't exist separate from awareness. That's what we are.
Yeah, but if I don't realize that's what I am, so then I need a way to disidentify.
That's right.
Right. So that the essence of what I truly am can become a tool.
It is a tool, of course, and it's in the moment by moment. But you see, what has to be there is this this urgency or this need inside that says, I want to be free. I want to be free from this person I take myself to be. Why? Because I don't want to suffer anymore. No more suffering. I don't want to suffer. I don't want anybody else to suffer. And I know that it's this me that I take myself to be that is the cause of the heartache and the suffering. Is it also the cause of our joy? I don't know. I think joy is joyful. The only time that the me is connected with any kind of happiness is when we have a desire and we get it fulfilled. So I so desire this new car, or this new dress, or whatever material thing I so desire. And when that is gotten, oh, it feels so happy. But that's not joy. That's part of the me getting itself satisfied.
That's the tricky part too, I think, right? Because it's easy to say, well, I don't want to suffer, right? But I think you fear, just with the loss of that ego, that you're also going to lose the part of you that experiences that joy, right? So I think you hold on to that, thinking that I want to get rid of this part, right?
Right.
Because it creates suffering, but I want to keep this part that enjoys the experience. But in reality, if I hear it correctly, that's going to exist anyway.
Well, look at our own experience. What is it that brings us joy, and what is it that brings us happiness? Usually, what brings us happiness is a desire fulfilled. And that desire comes from the me. And it's usually connected with some object that I desire. Whether it's for fame, or for money, or for a relationship, it's an object of some kind that's desired by this me. And when it's gotten, there is a sense of happiness. It's true, there is a sense of happiness. But it never lasts.
What about when you were walking up that mountain and you saw that beauty there? That was not an object.
That was joy.
Okay.
Because it wasn't an object.
Okay.
The beauty of the mountain, the beauty of the mist on those steps, the beauty of the rice fields,
Right.
the beauty of those people, those beautiful people that we met as we walked up that mountain. That was pure joy.
So there's no happiness in that.
No, I mean, you could call it happiness, but it's beyond, because it's not object related as such.
Right, okay.
It's just pure beauty. And why is there joy in beauty? Because that's your true nature, is beauty. So when you see pure beauty, it calls the beauty out in you. When you see goodness and innocence It pulls that out in you. Why? Because it's in you. It's who you fundamentally are. But we're not in touch with that. We think it's always external, filtered in some object that we try and grasp. So, beauty external is appointed to the beauty internal. The beauty internal is appointed to the beauty external. It's one beauty. And it's your fundamental nature.
You know, they say, I forget who said it, but happiness you can pursue, but joy comes uninvited. And we're all caught up in the pursuit of happiness. You know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But happiness we mostly define in, you know, getting my desires met. And then we move on to the next one. It's as opposed to joy, it's a rather shallow entity. But on the other hand, you know, it's like, well, so I have this tool of awareness,
Yeah.
but what's going to make me pick up and use it? When my fears rise, right? If I really want to be free of fear, if I'm tired of living crowded in by my fears, then I'll pick up the tool of awareness. But there's got to be some point where wanting to be free of fear can't be just a spoken sentiment. It's got to really be something you sincerely want. And like in a relationship, you know, I can say I want to be happy, but you cheated on me. And every day I see you, in the back of my mind, I still remember that you did that to me. Every time now you disappoint me, it keeps that little flame alive. If I really want to be happy in the relationship, I have to be willing to, like, you know, drop holding on to the past, and
Wow.
really try to see in the moment when that happens to not have that old conditioned reaction.
Right, so then there has to be an understanding. What is it that's having that conditioned reaction?
No, but in addition to the understanding, I have to earnestly really want happiness between it.
Of
Yeah.
course,
Well,
of
yeah.
course. Otherwise, I gotcha, and
Yeah.
I can always use something against you.
And
then there's a false sense of strength and power in that, and unfortunately, that's what people do in relationships.
and it's familiar.
That's right. That's right.
And it feels there's a security in the familiarity, but I can't then complain that I'm not happy, because then so then what do you want? Do you want the old familiarity of doing the same old, or do you really want to, you know, see if you can transform your
Yes,
relationship?
but what you're talking about is the working of this me, this ego, in everyday life. Now you're saying it's in a relationship.
Yes.
But one has to see whether it's in an intimate relationship, in a relationship with friends, a relationship with an idea, a relationship with one's work, wherever there is relationship, one has to see, is this me arising?
But what will, you say one has to see, what will make me see?
Well, the ending of suffering. We don't want, we have to see, we have to ask, what is it that's causing this pain?
Yeah.
This psychological, emotional pain.
So you have to seriously want to not be in pain.
Yes, you have to seriously not want to be in pain. And you have to be able to go a step further and say, what is it, or what purpose does this pain serve me? And who is it that's experiencing, or what is it that's experiencing this pain? What is it? What is it made up of? You get to the question of, well, then who am I? What am I? We must ask this question because we have to be free of this bondage, this cage that we're in a cage and the door is open. That's what's so maddening. If you live ego-driven, if you live driven by ego, by a me, you are living in a cage with an open door, but you don't see that the door is open. So one has to be able to say, I don't want this anymore. But how is this, where do I go with this? What do I do? So I have to begin to explore and to investigate. And what I see is, it's my opinions, it's my thoughts, it's my beliefs, it's my conditioning. I was conditioned to believe this was right and this was wrong. I was conditioned to believe this is good and this is bad. So it's my beliefs, my conditionings, my opinions that make up this me. And it causes resentment, and it causes hate, and it causes division, and it causes one to control. It causes one to make the other wrong. It causes one to blame. So I have to see this is what's going on. But I have to see it moment by moment. So I say, okay, the teacher said, watch every moment when this arises. So you're at a dinner party with your family or with friends, and somebody says something that you take offense to, but you see that arise in you. You see it, you feel the pinch of it, because it's painful. Or something you take as a rejection or a put down. You see it, you feel it. There's an awareness of that pinch. And with the awareness of it, you see that's the me. That's the me. Let it go. Let it go. Don't react. Let it go. Don't take it so seriously. Don't take it as reality. Let it go. Because it means nothing in the big picture of life. And it certainly means nothing to the background that you really are. Let it go. And you can do that. If you really want to be free of this person you take yourself to be. If you don't, then you'll take the insult or the rejection, you'll magnify it, you'll say something that gets back at the person, and then here you are in conflict and in pain.
That's when I ask myself, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right?
Okay, that's another way to do it. Must I be right? Must I win this? I'm going to win this. Who's saying that? Whose voice is that? Who's talking then? This is me, which is based on memory, based on an image that you have of yourself. I'm this great person, no one should speak to me that way. That's a me. He goes on. You must turn to the impersonal background as often as the opportunity beckons. Take note that your attention is constantly turned either towards objects or towards ideas. A sense of being without qualification is completely unknown to you. Being without qualification. That means being, I don't have to be this, I don't have to be that, I can just be. Being without qualification. Just being. Without being this or that. Without even being a man or a woman. Just being. Just being. Become the spectator, the witness. Become aware of the natural flow of life, your motives, actions, and what results from them. Observe the walls you have built around yourself. As you become more aware of your body and mind, you will come to know yourself. As this image of things as you believe them to be subsides, you will have a clear insight of what you are. Something quite other than a product of the mind. So he's telling you here, the more you become to witness what's going on, he says it, you will have then what the image, you see, you put a pin in the image you believe yourself to be every time you don't dwell on a reaction or have a reaction. It puts a pin in it. And what happens then is you revert to this background, your true being, consciousness, awareness. That has no me in it. It just is, it's just being. And as that begins to subside, he says you have an insight. You begin to have an insight of your true being. You will gradually feel less and less involved in whatever comes up. And one day you will discover yourself to be in the perceiving. Once you free yourself from the idea, I am my body, and the consequences of this idea, you will awaken to your natural state of being. Give yourself up entirely to this discovery. True awareness cannot be obtained by projecting known factors in terms of concepts and perceptions. What you are fundamentally cannot be experienced through reason and is only reached once you eliminate what you are not. So he's really saying here, give up concepts. Give up the beliefs and the concepts. Give up all concepts. And just find yourself in the perceiving, in the seeing.
So, am I understanding that he's talking about a certain kind of innocence, for example, like when a child looks at its own hand? It's not thinking, what's the big deal, everyone has a hand.
That's
It's like,
That's right.
is that what he's sort of talking about?
That's exactly what he's saying.
Okay.
Innocence.
Okay.
That's the art of seeing.
Okay.
It's an innocence.
Mhm.
Because it's a seeing without a center, without a me that's seeing.
Or even a memory that you saw this hand 5,000
Absolutely.
times before. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That means you're seeing the hand for the first time.
Mhm.
So when you say like put a pin in it, what is an easy way to do that? You know, I mean, I know you said like the self-seeking, self-expansion, self-protection. Like asking the question, like what's the
You can. You could say, to whom did this thought occur?
mhm.
And that brings you right back to the perceiving. But also, you can know, you know. The moment a feeling of envy arises. From whence this envy? What is the root of it? What is the root of this envy? It's a thought about something. Somehow I'm less than you are. Or you have what I wish I had, and there's envy. So who's saying all that? That's just me. So you see that in the moment. And the seeing is the doing. The moment you see the arising of the me, you're out of it. Otherwise you wouldn't have seen it. You put a pin in it by not dwelling on it and giving life to it. Let it. But we don't do that. The feeling of envy arises, and then we say, well, why does she have more than I have? Or why did this happen to me? Or if I would have known who she knew, then I would have gotten you know, the script.
So, if one becomes more aware, do their reactions, I would imagine, have to change in situations?
Yes. Yes.
So one becomes almost, in the letting go, one becomes a new person to oneself, a new being, and a stranger in some ways, but it also feels, does that mean if the reaction changes that one no longer reacts to another?
That's right, you're not reacting.
Okay, there's something about that doesn't feel spiritual to me.
Go on.
Because if then am I losing my ability to react to another? Where is my universal connection?
Reacting is not connecting. Reacting is not connecting. We mustn't confuse that. When there is no reaction, there is a connection. What is it that's reacting? It's the me that's reacting. Connecting is acting. Reacting is the me responding.
That's wonderful.
Right?
Because the connection inherently exists, correct?
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's the reacting that's self-created.
Yes. Yes.
Well, because I had an interaction today that kind of just went as you described, right? And even at the moment, I was aware that I was reacting and aware what my motivations were, right? But I still had to react.
Yes.
So I should say,
Yes.
okay, that's a good lesson for next time, maybe.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I don't beat myself up. It was wonderful that it was seen. That's all. And I just let it go. No dwelling on it.
Now, the necessity to feel the need to apologize, is that an egoic response?
Well, what is the motivation? If the motivation is to get something from this, or to ease a feeling of guilt, then it's ego.
Right.
If there's a feeling that someone was hurt,
Right.
that in some way I caused you pain, then I don't want to cause you any pain. But we have to be careful that it's
Right, I'm just again examining your
That's-
motivations
that's
and
right.
examining.
that's right.
And I guess
Yes.
that's where and for me, the heart, just because I don't know if it's peculiar to me, peculiar to men, or whatever, I react quickly, right? But when I take a moment to think about my reaction,
Yes.
than typically,
Yeah.
you know. So I guess that's the thing I'm kind of trying to work on is
That's right.
examine
That's
my
So Rosine, getting back to what you were saying, so putting the pin, so whenever awareness helps one interrupt a conditioned, patterned reaction, that's like putting the pin in the image, right? That's what an example of putting the pin is. It's awareness helping me interrupt a patterned reaction that comes from the me.
So you see where the reaction is coming from,
yes,
what instigated it, or
of course, of
Right.
course.
fear, or
Well, it's usually a fear, and it's about an image we have of ourselves.
Right.
Somebody hurt or put a pin in the image of us that we have of
Right.
ourselves.
Right.
That's a very freeing place to arrive at.
Yes. Yes. It certainly is.
I'm a little bit confused from before when you used the word concept,
Mm-hmm.
and it was almost like a negative thing that you were saying.
Mm.
Did I see that written?
All right, I should explain. If we're using a concept based on a skill that we need, that's one thing. But if we have a concept of what a person should be, or a belief
Expectation,
about
yeah.
something,
Yeah.
then we've put that in a box,
Okay,
and that we have to get rid of. So we have to differentiate,
okay,
you know, between a concept which is knowledge about something, a technical concept.
or an idea about doing something in a certain way.
Yes, yes.
That's okay.
Well, yeah, because then that's part of the doing is you're getting an
That's
idea
a
of how
good use
to.
of thought.
Yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
Remember we spoke about the working mind and the thinking mind
That's exactly right.
from Balsichar.
Right, yep. Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
So in the working mind, there'll be concepts that need us to function better in the particular knowledge and skill. I mean, if I'm a mathematician, I'm going to have some concept.
Right,
But if I have a concept about who you should be,
right.
or
Mhm.
right then,
Yeah. Mhm.
or a concept of what God is,
Mhm.
now I've narrowed and condensed
Labeled.
and labeled,
Mhm.
right, and constricted.
Yeah.
Mm, right.
Thank you.
A willful ego hinders you from being. The witness must enter upon the scene, enabling the ego to be recognized for what it is, an object. So this is important. This me that I take myself to be, I take myself to be the ultimate subject. The me. I'm the subject, everything else is an object. No. The me is an object to the witness, the witnessing awareness. How do you know? Because you know, you see. You see the thoughts, you see the feelings, you know the sensations. You see all this. It's all witnessed. So then, this me is not the ultimate subject. It's an object to the witness, just as the table is an object and the flowers are an object. The ultimate subject is this background of pure awareness, your true nature. In that background of awareness, all appears, including this me. So the me is an object. It is not the ultimate subject.
So awareness experiences the flowers,
Mm-hmm.
not the me, right? So we think the me is experiencing the flowers,
Right.
but actually it's your
It's
awareness that's experiencing the flowers. The me is just sort of almost like a filter I guess
Yes.
is the best way to describe it, between that experience
That's right.
that,
That's right. Because really, there are flowers and seeing. In that moment of that seeing, there's no separation. A second later, a thought comes in. Those flowers are beautiful. Oh, that's a lily. And so the naming starts and the labeling starts. And then the memory gets triggered. And they get registered. And that's okay. But now there's been an interruption between the immediacy of the perceiving and that which is being perceived. And actually it's like one movement. And in essence, it's the same, because that consciousness that's made up, that these flowers are made up of, is the same consciousness that's perceiving them, in essence, at the ultimate level. And we all experience that in the moment of perceiving without a me. The me comes in with the memory of things and the labeling of things, and now there's a distance. And we do that with people. What would it be like if we didn't have the me come in the first time or the 10th time or the 100th time we met someone? We would be seeing as if for the first time, and there's no separation, there's no other. In essence, of course, the bodies are different, and the experiences are different, and the conditioning is different, but the essence is one. Then, how would we be with that other person?
I'm thinking about it in A Course in Miracles when they mention the veil. Because if we are the light of awareness, and there's nothing stands in the way of that, we are that. But then if we put a veil in it, which the ego tends to do in a certain way, and it's the veil that it's described as stands in our way to see things clear.
That's right, we don't. Because remember, the ego tends to judge and evaluate, where it's not necessary. You may have to evaluate. I don't know, if you're buying a chair, you may have to evaluate it. But with another human being, you don't evaluate. You just try to be. You be. Without the me.
So it's like we look at the flowers and we're conditioned to think of it as there's a seer, seeing, and the object seen. But the more accurate rendition would be there's no seer, there's just seeing and the registration in awareness of the object. But we're all conditioned the other way. To see myself as a thinker, a seer, an actor, a doer. But this whole approach questions that end of it.
The witness must enter upon the scene, enabling the ego to be recognized for what it is, an object. This witness is a pedagogical device that opens the door to being. The ego cannot know itself because it identifies with what it thinks, feels, and experiences. For the ego, there's nothing but resistance, defense, agitation. It is the witness that shines forth and shows up the ego for what it is, an illusion. the witnessing consciousness, the witnessing awareness. That same witnessing awareness that sees the ego as an object, that sees when these defensive, or how did he say it? He said that so well. The resistance, defense, and agitation. You see it, right? You see the defensiveness arise, or the resistance to someone or something. You see the agitation. That's the witnessing awareness. And it is the witnessing awareness because it is seeing without the movement of thinking. If the seeing says, oh, that was terrible what you just did. If the seeing is evaluating, judging, then it's just the me working again. That's not witnessing awareness. Witnessing awareness is silent. Awareness is silent. Awareness is silent. What appears in awareness has sound and movement, but awareness is silent.
So hold on for a second. So it's like we're getting so many ideas here on the table. So I guess the whole, well, he said it was a pedagogical device.
Yeah,
right?
so it's a teaching device.
Because when one wants to be aware, you know, so how do I know that my awareness isn't just an aspect of ego
That's
functioning?
right. That's right.
So that's where the insight or the device of a witness comes in, because it can't be my ego that's observing my ego. Then we're just lost in the same soup, right? So what else would there be that could observe the workings of my mind? It's got to be something other than the ego, otherwise.
Other than the mind.
Right. So witnessing is the concept that tries to bridge that gap.
But in reality, it's not a concept, because with your own experience, you know there's a knowing of awareness. And you know when something appears in that awareness without any evaluation, without any judgment. That's the key. Where there is evaluation, judgment, resistance, that's the thought again, the ego moving, the thoughts moving. So you know that. But seeing that, that's pure awareness that's seeing that.
So the witnessing is awareness
is that
without
clear?
the movement of thought.
Absolutely. Witnessing is awareness without the movement of thought and thinking. It's pure awareness. And there is an awareness if there's an object, and there is an awareness if there's no object. Awareness is. It's pure. It's what you are. You're all aware at this moment. Are you anything but aware? You're aware in this moment. That's awareness. And then there are appearances and disappearances, whether of objects or the objects of thought or feeling or the objects of a table or a chair.
But what about just like healthy discernment?
Yes, so.
Is that
That's,
thought, the movement of thought? I mean, is that?
well, differentiating something, discern.
Yeah, I mean, you were
what
talking
do you
about
mean?
the chair, is that appropriate or not, or a person's behavior, is that, you know, I mean, we need to
Well,
be
you can-
discerning.
No, well, of course. But why do I have to judge it? Or why do I have to bring a memory to it or put a
So it's
blame
everything
to
that
it?
we add on to
That's
it.
right. It's just a seeing.
It's interesting that it's easy to get your, it feels easy to grasp when you're thinking in terms of an object, right?
Right.
A flower, okay? I can experience, but when the object is a person, it gets a little trickier. And is it
That's right.
because other people stir something in us egoically that makes us
Yes.
more?
Yes.
Sure.
That's right. That's why it's a wonderful opportunity. What an opportunity relationship
So you're
presents.
saying like one ego stirs up another. That's why it's more complicated with people.
Yeah, I think we tend to be more judgmental
Sure.
with other people than we are with flowers
Well,
or
that-
pets
I
or
was thinking
children.
Before, that's why the ego is very devious, because in those moments when somebody says something that you feel the pinch, your immediate reaction would be the ego pushes you to say, how dare they say that,
That's right.
rather than
That's right.
who am I that it's feeling this?
Yes.
Like, why am I feeling
It
this?
starts
That's
getting
right.
You
caught
know,
up in
it's
their
just
ego.
focus
what
on
was their ego
them.
doing?
That's right. That's right. However, there is an awareness of the pinch, is there not?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have to go any further than that. There's an awareness of the pinch, and I know where that's coming from, right? By now I know where that's coming from. So I don't have to go any further. I let it go. I can let it go. Or I can dwell and make a thing of it and make it larger.
Or you could make a boundary with someone if they're
Like that's,
being
I was
inappropriate.
thinking that too. I mean, that would
What?
be the ego. I think when you were saying that awareness is silent, I feel like that for me or whatever, that would be a better approach, because I feel like the ego has more of a chance to try and wound if you're like, you know, what you just said hurt me because of this. Like, it could be a fake way to try and analyze your ego or talk it through, but it's still kind of a punishment to them, to like let them know they hurt you,
Well, that's a
rather
reaction.
than just putting a pin in it.
That's right. Well, because if you let them know they hurt you, now you're reacting.
Yeah.
But that also means they could continue to hurt you.
Well, they can't continue to hurt you once you see that what's happening here, that who's getting hurt. And then what's the basis? Then there is no relationship. Then we're not relating, we're not connecting. If the experience with this other person is that there's something that's coming at you, that causes these pinches. So then something's not, where is the relationship? There's no relating here. Something else is going on.
It's one ego relating to the other ego.
It's probably one ego relating to another ego.
And when one in that situation does perceive and no longer participates
Right, then what?
in what had been the automatic game plan,
That's right.
there has to be, the energy has had energy that was going like this, and then one person
That's right.
steps aside. The other doesn't know where to go or what to do, but has to also respond in an energetic way. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, yes, that's right. Now, the response could be a diffusing of this game, and the other person sees that and doesn't want to continue that. Or it can be an acceleration of the game to really want to get to you. So either of those things can happen. But with awareness, with witnessing what's going on, we don't have to enter this because there's no relating, there's no connecting at that moment. Then what's going on here? It's nothing real, it's nothing of substance, nothing of value. If you really want a relationship, then you need to relate. Who am I relating to? What am I relating to? And who is it that's relating? The idea is, in the moment, to witness what's going on, what arises in awareness, in your own awareness, and to put a pin in it, and not let it get a life of its own. Even if it doesn't happen right away and it happens a few minutes late, you can always put that pin, you can always stop it. And it is freeing when you do that. It's like you freed energy up. And it's a wonderful feeling.
Is this called duality or non-duality?
Well, this is duality, but the non-duality is the witnessing of what's going on and knowing that that other person is not any more of a person than you're a person, that there really is no other, that the essence of that other is the same essence as you. And so that's non-duality. We are one. And when there's a realization of that, it's easier to then let it go.
So I've thought this was duality and told people, which I enjoy these evenings very much, they say, what are you doing? I'm going to a duality meeting. And then it occurred to me that, what's non-duality now? And I always like to hope there's a way to get this to enact it in my presence. I came up with everything is nothing. I'm just playing with opposites, things that are totally, and then I thought, well, why do I have to figure this out? Why am I spending my time on this? But why these words seem to get in the way. That everything is nothing, as well as, therefore, I believe in equality, nothing is everything. So here were these two opposites that really were, if everything is nothing, they are the same, made up of the same thing. And I thought, there's something about that felt really, really good.
Yes, yes. That's the essence of non-duality.
But then my working mind continued to, so many people would say, what are you talking about? It's either everything or it's nothing. It's either black or it's white. And I began to see how dividedness by words begins to enter the picture, which really is somehow the cradle of communication. So when that goes off, that someone doesn't understand, or I understand my words, but the person I'm conversing with interprets them not to my understanding of the words, but in their own,
Right, of course,
of course. But we're really going in.
That's right, that's right. Yes, of course.
Which is difficult because we also understand things by the opposites, hot and cold, and then all of a sudden everything is divided.
Yes, and language is dualistic, the basic languages.
Yeah.
That's right. However,
I mean, it's helpful to understand, but then forgets all that in between is.
but the understanding, even the understanding if someone is speaking and we don't know what they mean by a particular word. The wanting to understand what they mean and the getting to understand it, now connects us. And the connection is the basis, is the fabric, the foundation of all of us, because we are one consciousness. We are not separate. It's this me that separates, this illusory object. But in essence, we're one.
I was reminded from what Sarah Bell was saying about the languaging. I was walking in the city and I passed a funeral home, and there were people with flowers, and there was a peaceful feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And what came through my mind was so not logical language-wise, but it felt so true. And what it was a big part of me is already dead at all times. In fact, and this is how the wording unfolded, in fact, that part of me that is already dead, and always has been, was never alive. Because it's all one thing. And I went, wait, maybe that's non-duality. Oh my God. There's, it doesn't make any sense in language because it's linear, but there's some kind of dialectical mushing together of the whole thing. That was very peaceful.
That's right.
I like
this,
that. A big
Yes.
part of it is a big part of us is already dead. I mean, we're only alive for a second at a time. It's kind of
well,
interesting.
there's this place that's just one thing at all times.
That's right.
It's
Just one.
not going anywhere. It hasn't come
That's
from
right.
anywhere.
That's right.
And it's very peaceful.
That's right.
It's space.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yes.
silence is
Right.
another word.
Yes, is
what
another
you
word.
said.
Or
Okay.
awareness.
Right. And pure awareness. And it was never born, so it cannot die.
Mhm.
It just
Yeah.
is.
That's another duality. Dead people, live people,
That's
born,
right.
unborn.
That's right. That's in
And time.
time. And what you're talking about and what you were, it was a timeless insight. That's timeless.
It felt very fearless.
That's right.
Was what I
Because the
liked.
fear is all dead.
A moment of no anxiety. Wow, that was wonderful. No sadness or dread.
That's Krishnamurti used to always say, die now. Not body, not, the body doesn't have to die, but die now to the past. Die now to all the beliefs and the concepts. Die right now. And then there's life. Because life is, awareness is, the background is.
Paul, you wanted to turn, and I was speaking.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I was reminded we were in China and we went and saw one of the temples where he had paid homage to Lao Tzu. And I was thinking of this as we were doing this tonight. So this is a quote of his from the Tao Te Ching. Yield and overcome. Bend and be straight. Empty and be full. Wear out and be new. Have little and gain. Have much and be confused. Therefore wise men embrace the one and set an example to all. Not putting on a display, they shine forth. Not justifying themselves, they are distinguished. Not boasting, they receive recognition. Not bragging, they never falter. They do not quarrel, so no one quarrels with them. Therefore the ancients say, yield and overcome. Is that an empty saying? Be really whole, and all things will come to you. Seems to echo a lot of what he was saying tonight.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yield and overcome.
As in just step out of the way?
Yeah.
Like a yield traffic sign?
Yes, that's right. Yield.
And when you see the habitual patterns and you interrupt them with awareness, that's kind of yielding, in a sense. And then you overcome reacting in the moment.
So he ends here with, live in the moment, simply be. Making a choice depends upon memory and easily becomes slavery. Live as being, and you will awaken to bliss.
Repeat that line about choice and slave.
Live in the moment. Simply be. Making a choice depends on memory and easily becomes slavery. Live as being, and you will awaken to bliss. You know, where is there choice when you're really living in the moment and see clearly? It's just a seeing. And in the seeing is the being and the doing. Choice is based on memory and can lead to slavery because you're enslaved by the decision. So just simply be, he says. Live as being, fully present in the moment, free of this me, of the past, free of projecting into the future. And you will awaken to bliss.
Well, it also implies that if you were living being free in the moment, there probably would be there wouldn't be much need to choose, because you would
That's
see,
right.
You would see immediately what needs to be done. It's the ego that gets in the way of this seeing and starts weighing options. But if you're really just being, you probably just naturally see the right thing to do in situations.
Well, there's clarity.
Right. Well, Krishnamurti had the great line, and with clarity comes skill in action, which is certainly true.
So do you think routines are bad, even if they're kind of, like, they don't really affect anyone? You know what I mean? Just in terms of reinforcing memory.
Well, is that what the
Or
routine is
reinforcing the
doing?
ego in terms of, like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, it's probably a good idea to invite spontaneity.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of routine in nature, you know.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
day the sun rises, the
Yeah.
sun goes down.
Yeah,
There's, you know, I
That's
think
true.
that we need a certain
Yeah.
amount of routine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that it's
It
good or
can-
bad. It
yeah,
just is,
it
and
is.
that's what it is. It is.
Yeah.
But I guess you could be enslaved by it if it's just pure habit.
Like,
But if it works.
I'm just
Well,
calling
that's
the
just
group.
it.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. It's
That's
to the degree that you feel attached to it.
Yeah, attached.
And
to
not able
Yeah.
to let go and be flexible and spontaneous. That's the. So once
Yeah.
attachment, then that's something you want to look at. Have to be able to be free.
And I might have a routine in the morning because I might feel it's the most efficient
Yeah,
way I
expedite.
can use my time.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
or you have a meditation
Mhm.
routine.
Mhm. Right,
Yeah.
right.
I keep thinking a funny thought about my ego and the Buddha doll, where I need to put some pins in it